I'm your boogeyman, that's what I am. I'm here to do whatever I can. Be it early morning, late afternoon, or at midnight.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 6 of Fire and Ice podcast. We have 2 incredible interviews coming your way today. We have first Auburn Standout Basketball player Anfernee McLemore. He comes on, talks about his experiences playing for Bruce Pearl, playing in SEC basketball, and how he became all-defensive team in the SEC. Second on, we have the wonderful Yasmine Scott. She talks a little bit about dating in our Breaking the Ice segment. You're not going to want to miss that. Great info for you guys. But James, before we get into the interviews, what's going on with Lou Williams? The guy was in the bubble the other day. Now he's in the A at Magic City.
Yeah, so we're talking about a guy in Lou Williams who was an excused absent. He went to a funeral, but now we're finding out that he was at the acclaimed Magic City in Atlanta, Icey. The Clippers are vying for a championship, and we have guys going to strip clubs, risking it all. I'm not okay with it. You're talking about a guy who loves strip clubs. I mean, ever since COVID, it's been a slow struggle. But, you know, I like a strip club just like another guy. This is totally unacceptable.
But I'm not a strip club guy, but have you had the wings at Magic City?
No, I don't.
It's not a debate then. We leave it up to Lou Will. He knows what he likes. He went home, did what he had to do. He had to go get some wings. He was wearing a mask. He was chilling with Jack Harlow. What's popping? Brand new whip just hopped in. So I don't think it's a big concern. He's going to come to play when the time is right. 10 days, he'll be back. I think he's missing the first 2 games. Not a big deal.
I think it shows that he isn't a team player. I think it shows that he's not taking this seriously. And it's not like he's a 9 seed looking to be an 8 seed. I mean, maybe these games don't matter, but if I'm Kawhi Leonard, I would be furious right now. Or if I'm the coach, I'm absolutely furious. I mean, it's hilarious. This is the story right now of 2020. Lou Will. He better not mess this up for the team because the Lakers' value just went zooming straight up. I don't know. Maybe we're just going to have to disagree on this. We do have 2 very special guests coming up, so let's throw it over to that. Icey, any final words?
I'm fine with it. Live on Sunday. Magic City Monday. Let's send it over to the interview. We are extremely excited with the guest that we have on today. You probably recognize him, especially if you're a Hoops fan. Went to Auburn, played in the Final Four, all SEC defender. Now he works in wealth management. The guy can absolutely do it all. We have a great interview in store for you today. Anfernee McLemore, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. I'm pretty excited about spending some time with you guys today and just answering some questions.
Awesome. First off, Anfernee is a great name. How did were you named after anybody, or was that just, your parents came up with that?
Yeah, my dad was named Farron, and he was a big fan of Penny Hardaway. So I guess he had the opportunity to name his son Anfernee, and that's the story he's told me all my life, and that's the story I like to roll with.
And because you can hoop like him. Like, when I watched you the last couple of years, you could hoop like Penny,
Yeah, he's one of my favorite guys to look up to as far as growing up. I loved him when he's played with Magic, and I was a big fan of him.
So our producer actually called this out. We do a lot of research on our guests, and we saw you're from Warwick, Georgia. And when I read about Warwick, the National Grits Festival. Tell us a little bit about that. Did you go to the festival? Do you have a favorite type of grits? I feel like that's like the hometown pride right there. Let us know about that.
Oh yeah, man. The Grits Festival. It's an annual festival, happens once a year, and it's basically this event where we come out and have parades and just sort of celebrate our small town. The main event of the Grits Festival is this thing called the Grits Pit, where contestants would get into a pool of grits and fill their clothes up, and whoever had the most pounds of grits in their clothes would win the grand prize of $50 to $100. And that was like, as a kid, it was the best experience of my life because I would just go into a pool of grits and with duct tape around my ankles so they didn't fall out. And it sounds disgusting, but it was actually pretty fun. The grits were actually ice cold. But yeah, the Grits Festival is just any other parade, but it's sort of a small town thing that we like to do to celebrate our little bit economy.
So it sounds like you were in a football community growing up. Did you play football, or was basketball always a priority?
Yeah, I definitely grew up in a small football town. Football is definitely the main focus. And the only reason why I didn't play football as much, I played for one summer my freshman year, was because of a big growth spurt I had my freshman year of high school. I went from about 5'11" to 6'7". And had it not been for that growth spurt, I definitely would have been a football player.
Nice.
So a lot of people, when you hit that growth spurt, it can kind of be an awkward transition with basketball. Could you always hoop, or were you kind of a late bloomer? We're doing some reading. I saw you play with Bam Adebayo with the Atlantic City Celtics, I believe.
Atlanta Celtics.
Yeah, because, and that program has produced Josh Smith, Randolph Morris, Dwight Howard. So did you always have game, or were you more of a late bloomer?
No, I was definitely a late bloomer. I didn't start actually playing basketball really competitively at a high level until about my sophomore year of high school. I was on a team from 7th grade, but I wasn't necessarily talented in any way. And it was about the end of my freshman year when I really felt like I could be a great player. I had the motivation, I had the confidence that I could make something happen. And it was that sophomore year where I began to score a little more points, get a little bit more recognition. And at the end of my junior year is when I actually started playing for the Atlanta Celtics. And I played alongside NBA players like Kobe Simmons, a couple of high-profile recruits like Josh Langford, and a few other guys.
So when you were looking at colleges, you had a 4.0 GPA, so you could really go to whatever school you wanted. What were the Ivy League school visits like, and why did you finally set foot and pick Auburn to be the college of your choice?
Yeah, the Ivy League schools, their campuses were definitely very historical. It was a very traditional type visit, and honestly, it was a lot of fun. The only reason why I probably didn't choose an Ivy League school over an SEC school was because the Ivy League doesn't necessarily offer a full ride in athletic scholarships. They sort of split it up to where the player has to pay for tuition and other things like that. But I loved the idea of playing for Ivy League school simply because I was so academically focused in high school, and I thought it'd be a great career path to pursue. But at the end of the day, it all came down to choosing a place that felt like home, that felt that I wanted to be there and have fun, that I could progress in my career over the next 40 years. And Coach Pearl and the coaching staff, he really did a great job of challenging me to the point where he didn't promise me any playing time when I first got to the SEC. He told me that if I wanted to play, I had to develop. I had to get a lot better than what I was coming in. And it was that challenge that sort of lit a fire underneath me that wanted me to play for his program to prove myself that I could be a great player.
Was there any fun stuff that you can share about the official visit? Our producer was a Division I basketball player as well. I was a Division I basketball manager. So I know that those visits can be a lot of fun, especially when you're in high school. Was there any story you could tell that kind of solidified you? Like, I'm going to Auburn. They take you to a football game on the field. I don't know. You can go from there. We can say anything on this podcast.
Yeah, man, I definitely think just going to one of the football games was a good experience. But, you also have a lot of extracurriculars going on. I remember the night of my visit, we were actually supposed to go down to Sky Bar, and I was probably 17, 18 years old at the time. I didn't have any clothes because I didn't expect to go anywhere. So one of the players on the team at that time actually lent me some of his pants, shoes, and shirts to get me to go downtown with him and just have fun. And at that point, I was like, yeah, these guys are pretty cool. Like, I can get along with them. And so it was a football game. It was going to the practice. It was meeting all the coaches. And it was just them being so selfless in the very beginning that it kind of sold me on the program to think that this was a place I could call home.
So you mentioned Bruce Pearl. I was wondering your favorite Bruce Pearl story. We know he lights a fire under people's asses. He can be fun. He can be loving. But if you had a favorite Bruce Pearl story, we'd love to hear it.
And he's got to be the sweatiest guy in the world. No one can sweat in a suit like that guy.
Oh, yeah. I think one of my favorite Bruce Pearl stories is not actually from a game. It's from one of our practices. So we were coming in. Everybody's getting ready for practice. It was really a slow day in regards to everything that was going on. And everybody on the team was sort of just in a little bit of a slump. We were kind of slugging around and not necessarily being the most efficient with playing basketball that day. So he called the team in a huddle, and he sort of gave the speech. It was like, every day we come to the gym, we need to have the mentality of I get to, not I have to. So not I have to practice, not I have to run, not I have to work out today. I get to come in and put the Auburn symbol on my chest and represent this university. I get to play at this great school with all these benefits and just have a great time over the time I'm being a student athlete. And I'm not sure exactly what year he said that, but I know from the moment he said that, I never forgot that. Whenever I was feeling down, whenever I was feeling like I didn't want to do something, I always went back and remembered I get to do it. A lot of people wake up today and they want to be a Division I athlete. They want to play for Auburn. They want to play for a high-level program like this. And it was just that little thought of I get to do it, not I have to do it, that sort of changed the course of how I felt about my day-to-day actions.
Love it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like you'd be a great motivator. And I was just thinking about, you're from a small town. I'm not sure what type of attendance you got in your high school games. Was there a moment that stands out your freshman year when you really thought to yourself, wow, I'm really here. I'm playing in the SEC. I'm on the biggest stage right now. Is there anything specific that you can kind of bring us back to, a moment that stands out?
Yeah, for sure. I remember the exact moment from my freshman year. We had took a trip to Cancun, Mexico to play in a tournament. I forget what the name of the tournament was. And we were just having a good time. At this point in the season, I was probably playing 2 to 3 minutes a game. I wasn't getting a lot of playing time at all. And we were playing against Purdue this game. It may have been for the championship. I'm not exactly sure. But we were playing against Purdue, and they had this big 7-foot guy named Icey on the team.
He had the biggest head ever. His head was about this big.
Yeah, man, he was a huge guy. And all I remember is that, throughout the course of the game, there was one play on the baseline where our guy was driving. Isaac stepped up, blocked the shot, and he dumped it down to me, and I went up for a dunk, and Isaac jumped with me, and I dunked on him. It was like at that moment I was like I just dunked on the 7-footer, and it was it was kind of surreal. It wasn't an absolute post or anything. It wasn't anything incredible, but I should find some footage of that. I know it's there somewhere, but that was the moment where I felt like, okay, I'm actually competing at a high level because this guy's pretty good.
We have the best producer in the game, Luke, right now, throwing a jam from Anfernee right now.
Yeah, you better believe I'm going to find that.
Now. Yeah, he's got it.
Speaking of dunking on people, we heard your pregame meal was hibachi steak. Is there any truth to that?
Oh, yeah, that was like a ritual, man. That was our tradition. Every home game and even every game that we had that Final Four run, we ate hibachi religiously. It was to the point where it was superstition that if we didn't eat hibachi, we weren't going to win. And throughout that season, where I guess we did it for 2 seasons, but throughout that first season, we only lost one home game that we ate hibachi before, and that was to Texas A&M. I think it was the last game of the season. So it came to the point where it was a little bit more of a superstition. But, yeah, we ate hibachi before every single home game of the whole season.
I mean, you're totally understanding. I'm a very superstitious guy. I just ate a Lucky hot dog before the Yankee game, so I understand exactly what you guys went through. Superstition.
I have a hibachi question. So I'm a hibachi enthusiast myself, and this is big for me. Did you have the hibachi? Did Bruce Pearl have the hibachi chef come in, or did they bring the hibachi food on? Like, were you catching the broccoli before the game, or is it more like mellow and you're eating it off a regular plate?
No, it was more of the night before. We would eat a lot of pasta the day of the game. So, but we would go to in Auburn, there's a place called Makata's, and we would go to Makata's and go actually to the restaurant and eat as a team meal.
I absolutely love that. I have a newfound respect. War Eagle, love Auburn.
War Eagle.
We're about to be the biggest SEC podcast out there after this show. So there have been some big time alumni, and we're gonna get into the Final Four run in a little bit. But what was your relationship with Charles Barkley? How involved was he in the program as well as other former players?
Yeah, Sir Charles, he would come in whenever we had a big game. He was a busy guy, so obviously he couldn't make it to every single game. But every time he came into the arena or came to a game, he would always give us a speech before the game about the importance of representing the university well. His big thing was carrying ourselves with a great image, win or lose, and just having a good morale about ourselves. He talked to us before the Final Four game, and I believe that his speech helped in part with the way we reacted to the ending of it, and that we were just very appreciative of being able to get to play the game in the first place rather than being disappointed that we didn't win, even if we did lose the way that we did. And he's just a great guy to have around because he's always so positive and encouraging and very understanding of the players' situations.
And, Coach, were you about to say something?
No, I was just gonna ask Anfernee along the way who his favorite person that he guarded was in college.
I think this is not necessarily my favorite person, but it was the person that was hardest for me to guard, and I have a lot of respect for him. And that's Robert Williams III. He played for Texas A&M. I think he plays for the Boston Celtics now. And, I like to think of myself as a good defender in college, and I always took defending personally. But it was something about his game. He was very physical, very athletic, and I was also very tall. And, Robert Williams, he was one of the toughest players I had to guard, and I have a lot of respect for him.
Love it.
What was your mentality as kind of, would you consider yourself an undersized 5 or more of a stretch 4?
Definitely undersized 5.
And what was your mentality? Like, you're going up against Robert Williams. You're going against these, bigs at Kentucky. What was your strategy? Would you try to take him outside, or, what was the mentality going into the game?
I think my mentality, depending on who I was playing against, well, for the most part, me being so undersized, was that they couldn't take the fight out of me, even if I was small. And I think they didn't expect much from the very beginning. I think towards the end of my career, I started getting a little bit more respect for my defensive capabilities. But it was always the point where I felt like if they were bigger than me, then I was quicker than them. So I used that to my advantage as far as bringing them away from the basket and maybe showing my outside game a little bit more. But there are also some bigs in SEC that was the same size as me. So if they were the same size as me, then I would think I'm stronger than them. So I could take them to the paint and then play a little bit more traditional 5-man back to the rim basket anyway. But for my game personally, I didn't do a lot of scoring where I would have the ball on the post anyway. A lot of my points came in transition or through alley-oops. So it's always a lot of motion in my game. And I really think that the traditional 5-man that I guarded in the SEC had a hard time defending me because I wasn't stationary for too long, and they would always get very fatigued trying to keep up with the pace of where we were playing.
So we like to do this. Oh, sorry, Coach.
No, go ahead.
We like to do this thing called fire off questions. Fire and Ice, that's the name of the podcast. So I'm going to ask you questions, and just as soon as you think the first answer that comes to mind, let me know what you think. All right? And it's about your life. Favorite athlete growing up?
Jason Tatum. I guess not. But
Tatum's great. Soundtrack to your life. What would the song be?
J. Cole, Dollar in the Dream.
Your all-time starting 5. So you could put yourself at the 5. Who are the other 4 guys, whether it's NBA players, whether it's your boys? Who do you want to roll on that you're not going to lose a game with?
Jared Harper at point guard, Bryce Brown at shooting guard, Malik Dunbar at small forward, Chumo Kiki at the 4, me at the 5, and also my boy Austin Wiley and Horace Spencer.
I love that answer. We're trying to get Jared Harper on the podcast. He's on the Knicks now. We're from New York, so we have a real soft spot for them. Biggest role model growing up?
Amari Stoudemire.
Pre-game meal if it wasn't hibachi?
Chicken Alfredo.
Favorite artist?
J. Cole.
NBA comparison?
Jordan Bell.
If you didn't play basketball, what sport do you think you would have played in college?
Probably track, cross country.
What age did you first dunk at?
13.
Whew.
What grade is that?
I think it's 8th grade.
Sheesh. And then final question. Your career high. Doesn't have to be in college, any league, any men's league, anything.
Well, high school, I scored 35 in the game.
There you go.
Oh,
and
man.
now, you mentioned you're a financial advisor. Do you still hoop it all these days, or?
Yeah, I definitely I hoop. I try to keep myself in shape, and that's one of the funnest ways to stay in shape. So it's kind of hard right now because some of the local parks have the goal, the rim unscrewed from the basket. But I still run, I still hoop, and I still have fun.
So we are big New York City guys. We, live in Manhattan and close by. You got a chance to play at Madison Square Garden. Can you talk about what that was like? There's a specific play in that game that really stands out to me, about a putback slam that you had against Boston College. Can you walk us through what it's like to just play at the world's most famous arena, the Mecca? It's something that we always dreamed of as New York kids, but obviously our basketball careers got halted as – mine ended in me being a manager. But if you could talk to us a little bit about that, I think that our followers would love that.
Yeah, I think that at some point, if you're a basketball fan growing up, you're going to hear about Madison Square Garden at some point in your life. Even if, the team that plays there aren't the best, it's the mecca of basketball. It's the most famous arena, as you said. And growing up playing for Auburn, I honestly never thought I would have the opportunity to play there. And when we found out that we were going there for Under Armour Classic and playing Boston College, it was kind of like a surreal experience that we were actually going to be on the floor playing a basketball game in the same arena that all of these greats played at. All you can name, it's countless amount of people that's played for Darden, and it's just amazing. So once I had that sort of come to Jesus moment where I figured out like we were actually going to play there, the nerves started to settle down. We were on the court, and it was sort of like another basketball game, but you always had that tingling feeling inside of you that you're actually on Madison Square Garden. And that's probably one of my most favorite memories from Auburn in general, even though we didn't win that game. And going back to the play that you were talking about, the putback, as I said, I was a freshman this year, so I wasn't getting a ton of playing time at all. But when I did get in the game, I sort of got in the game randomly. We were down about 5 or 6 points at the time. I knew that if I wanted to get a bucket in Madison Square Garden to kind of complete this dream for me, that I had to do something fast because I was probably going to get out of the game sometime soon. So I saw my shooting guard, Bryce Brown, dribbling the ball on the right side of the floor, and he had about 2 or 3 Boston College players defending him or chasing him down. So I had a feeling that the layup probably wasn't going to go in. And sure enough, as he goes up for the layup, it kind of spins around the rim in a weird fashion. And at this point, I'm chasing the play. I'm at the free throw line. I just take off from wherever I'm standing at the moment. And then I just fly through the play as it comes down out of one of the Boston College hands. I grab the ball and just throw it behind my head. And I look behind me and I see the ball rolling in. And everybody's cheering. I don't even know what just happened because it was a surreal experience.
Nice. Speaking of experiences, you are one of very select few people to play in a Final Four. And I found out from Icey and producer Luke that you guys are getting gifts left and right after each round. So talk us through the experience. Tell us if you got any gifts that each round. Is that the truth? You get new gifts each round?
You got a gift after each weekend. So if you made it past 2 games, you'll get a gift.
Nice.
And Pete, Anthony's a humble guy. They did not have an easy road to the Final Four. They had to go through UNC. Can you take us through kind of weekend by weekend? What is the feeling? What surrounds it? We, Luke and I, obviously, at Loyola University of Maryland, when we played in the NCAA tournament, we felt like rock stars with the police escort. That was something we weren't used to. Auburn's obviously a bigger school. What is that experience like with the fanfare and alumni and everywhere? They know where your hotel is, so everyone's kind of waiting in the lobby before the games. Can you walk us through that? We really try to give everyone a behind-the-scenes look, and no better person to ask than you.
Yeah, for sure. I think for Auburn, we were a little bit in a unique position because even though we were a Power 5 school, we hadn't been to the tournament we went to the tournament the year before that, but before that, it has been since 2003. So it was a very long time before we had been to any NCAA tournament. And walking back through the first game of New Mexico State, as you said, we were very excited about just being in Salt Lake City, having the police escort, having everything, the nice hotel, and just being around the nice people who was welcoming us to the tournament. I really think that played a part in us not playing as well as we could have because we sort of had a false sense of confidence going into that first game. And everybody knows it's March Madness. Anything can happen. So we were feeling good the night before. We were feeling like we were the best thing since sliced bread since we were playing a number 12 team. And they almost beat us. They had us down to the very last shot, and I actually defended that very last shot. And all I remember is that when he inbounded the ball, because I was defending the inbound passer, I saw him wide open. And in my head, I just ran through the scenario of this is the perfect situation for this upset to happen. It was the last shot, buzzer beater. And as I run out to defend him on the play, I see the shot go up. I try not to foul him first. I see the shot go up, and I see the air ball. And I'm just thinking, man, we survived this game. Moving on to another weekend, there's no reason why we should have survived this game. And we're just moving on. If you want me to go into the next couple games, I can. But if you don't,
yeah, love that. Yeah.
So I think that New Mexico State game really shifted our confidence level to the point where we were like, okay, this is a grind. We absolutely knew the level of competition that we had. And I believe had we played well against New Mexico State, had we had a good game and blow them out by 20 points, we lose to Kansas the next night or the next couple nights, whenever it is, and we're down for the tournament. It was that close game against New Mexico State that shifted our I guess, our more compass in where we were that helped us come out on fire against Kansas. And that game against Kansas helped boost our confidence against North Carolina. And then at that point, we felt like we could beat anybody once we beat North Carolina. And that drove us into the Kentucky game and then almost beating Virginia. So I believe it all stemmed from that first game against New Mexico State, where we really had to adjust our focus and really make sure we were playing our best basketball in order to compete against the better programs in the rest of the tournament.
Like, when we say these names right now, you took down in one tournament Kentucky, UNC, Kansas. Did they feel like different games? You know, you're playing in larger arenas. What was that like going against the Blue Bloods? Those are the three, them and Duke are the three most famous college basketball teams ever.
You know, it's definitely, when you first hear that you have that sort of slate, there's definitely a level of intimidation that runs through your heart at first. But I believe that once you get on the court, once you start playing a few minutes and you get settled into the game, you realize that these guys, you know, while they're at Kansas, you know, while we're at Auburn, they're playing the same game that we are. They're sweating just like we are, and they're just as human as we are. And they have weaknesses that we have as well. So I believe that we were able to expose the certain weaknesses that each team had. And also, we played at such a high level, such a fast pace, that it was hard for any team to keep up with us. I think the game against Virginia, we didn't play as well because they really slowed us down to Virginia's pace. You know, they played an extremely slow game. They would walk the ball on the floor every single time. And that's one of the reasons why we didn't play well. But every other team, they tried to compete with us as far as our speed. North Carolina probably did the best because they had Kobe White, and he was an extremely fast point guard. And I remember, like, 2 minutes in the game, it was a track meet. It's just back and forth, like up and down, up and down, up and down. And it was in part our speed and just overcoming the obstacle of just reading their name on the chest, understanding they're human just like we are, and that they're playing basketball just like we are, that led us to winning the game and exposing some of the weaknesses that they had.
Quick family question. You know, you had a wife and a child in college. Do you think that kind of changed your outlook? Do you think that changed you as a man during your college years? Did you have to grow up quicker, or is that something you were completely, you know, did it change you as a basketball player and as a man?
I think the only thing that it changed was my forward-looking, I guess, perspectives of the game of basketball. Once I got my fiance and my child, I really had to look for a level of stability and take a little bit less risk than I probably would have. With me have broken my leg my sophomore year at school, and it already been pretty painful just to play for a long season. At the end of the season was the worst because the season would kind of catch up to me. And I honestly had to sit down and think and just pray about what would be the best long-term for me and my family. Would that be going in and playing professional basketball overseas, or starting my career early where I could progress in wealth management and sort of get the ball rolling in that sense? So it was a fork in the road for my entire senior year where I really felt undecided. And I really didn't make a decision until almost the end of the season when it got abruptly canceled, to where I thought that it would be the best decision for my family to have that stability, to have me home and not playing in Spain or in G League on the other side of the country somewhere, and where I could consistently make a good amount of money, but also have a time with them as well.
It seems like you made the right decision. Wealth management is something that, I mean, I work in sports, and I'll tell you something, the pay isn't always that great. So wealth management is the right decision. Do not doubt that for a second, Anfernee. Trust me. Trust me. So we already talked about Bruce Pearl. I know Icey had a question about something. One of the manager's daughter.
I believe it was the director of basketball operations daughter, Madison, was became famous on The Bachelor. Did you know her while you were in school? And can you talk about her at all? You know, we have some female viewers that are very into the show, so they wanted me to ask ahead of time because the first thing they thought about with Auburn was Madison.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I knew Madison on a personal level. She was always around the program, always just having fun. And Coach Pruitt and Madison, I remember my freshman and sophomore year, Madison actually helping take the score for a summer camp that we had. She was helping run the scoreboard. So she's always been an extremely humble and extremely down-to-earth person, and very, very in touch with her religion as far as being a Christian. And I think that all the blessings that she has been so deserving, and she's just such a great and inspirational person to be around. You would never know that she won The Bachelor just from from talking to her because she's so humble and just a great role model for any of the females, even males who want to pursue a life of success and also make a difference at the same time. So I'm extremely happy for her and all the success that she has. And I also, think she's extremely deserving of everything that she has and everything that's to come for her.
I love to hear that. That makes me even bigger of a fan after watching the show and hearing that. You had such a successful career. It came to a bit of an unusual end with coronavirus. Can you talk about, did you know ahead of time before it was released? Did you find out that the season was canceled when everyone else did? How did the players find out? Did coach tell you or?
So for that, how we found out, we were in Nashville, Tennessee, getting ready to play our SEC tournament game. And I believe we had either Texas A&M or Missouri. But for the SEC tournament, we usually practice the day of the game or the day before the game in the arena. So we had just left Bridgestone Arena. And we were on the bus going back to the hotel for our, evening lunch or whatever we were doing. And coach walks back to the back of the bus where the players sit, and he tells us that the SEC decided to cancel the remainder of the tournament. And at that point, it was a little bit of a shock, but we weren't, I would say we were devastated, but we were a little bit more shocked and think that, okay, we sort of expected the SEC tournament to be canceled because they were already playing it without the fans in the first place. So that was sort of the next step. But when we got home, because we packed up that same day and went home, and when we landed the plane, we found out that the big dance, the NCAA tournament, was canceled as well. And that is when I came to the realization that my basketball career is over. Like there's no more. And you go to a point where within 24 hours, you think you have a chance to prove yourself and make a name for yourself in order to enter the NBA draft or to get that last push if you do want to play professional, because that's one of the best ways to get exposure. If you have a good run in tournament, you play well, that's one of the ways you can boost your draft stock in that last little sense. So if I was on the edge at that point, it's like I didn't have the opportunity anymore because, it was just over. And I think at that point as a senior, you kind of don't know what to think because I don't think anybody else has gone through that situation before where it's just, you in the blink of an eye, you go from waking up, getting ready for a game until your season being over, like done for everybody. And that's an extremely strange feeling to have gone through.
That's horrible. That's really, really, really just difficult. It's been difficult on all of us, but knowing that that's the last way that your career is going to end it's tough. It's heartbreaking, and we feel for you. We really do. We want to talk about your YouTube channel. So it started as one thing, but now we're moving on to your personality. We understand you like to talk. You're promoting yourself. Talk about your YouTube channel and what you're trying to do going forward.
Yeah, for sure, man. I just found myself always want to be as productive as possible. So with my time as wealth manager, I found that I had a lot of free time that I could fill with productivity. And that's when I ventured into the YouTube space to where I would make content. I started off as an investing channel, but with my job being in wealth management, it was a conflict of interest between what I was doing professionally and what I was doing on YouTube. So that's when I transitioned towards some more of my college experiences and letting my personality play out a little bit more. And that's honestly the most important thing for me because I get to have fun with my videos now and get to re-experience these amazing moments in my career. And I think that's definitely something I can do moving forward. And I also want to just have fun with. I can play some people for they beat me, they get $100, or just I just want to have fun and just have some free and loose content to where it's just something that I don't feel like it's another job. It's something I feel like I'm genuinely either helping people or just having fun creating the content that I make.
Yeah, that's what we do. We like to make content to make people laugh, to enjoy each other's company. So that's all great stuff. Icey, you have any other questions?
I just wanted to let you know, we really appreciate you coming on. We've watched you so many games, gigantic basketball fans over here. When I called Coach and producer Luke and I said, we got Anfernee McLemore on, everyone was gassed up. I immediately was thinking about the tournament run. I just have this image about kind of like the lane opens up. I believe it's against UNC, and you just catch, turn, throw it down with two hands. Luke, put that in right now. Throw it down with two hands. But I also wanted to say, if you ever find yourself looking to move to New York City, work in wealth management, we have a great men's league basketball team that we would love for you to join. I can see myself throwing some lobs left, right, you finishing everything around the rim. But on a more serious note, you had an incredible career. We wish you nothing but the best, you and your family in the future. And, I mean, we can even tell from this conversation you have an extremely bright future.
Man, I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. Answering questions, spending some time with you guys, and I appreciate being on the podcast.
Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, sounds good. Talk to y'all soon.
Bye.
Thank you.
Now it is time for my favorite part of the podcast. We have Breaking the Ice. Today we have a very special guest, our first female guest, Yasmine Scott. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yasmine, just to give you a little bit of background on Breaking the Ice, we're not trying to help guys date. We're not trying to help girls date. We're just trying to help love. You know, we want to pick people's brains, kind of, you know, not give people definitive advice, but kind of just reach out to different members, different people that we know to kind of see what their preferences are for dating, you know, what they've learned, what tendencies they've picked up on, and, you know, how they've grown and had success in dating.
Sounds good. I'm definitely not an expert, but I will talk about kind of what I've been through being a young adult in New York City. So I'm happy to share some stories.
And just to start, can you give us just our viewers a little bit of background, who you are, kind of name, age, what you like to do, you know, your profession, just so they can get a little feel for you before we start asking the questions.
Sure. So I'm Yasmine Scott. I went to high school with our very own Bryan over here in Westchester. Lived in Manhattan for the past 6-7 years. I work in finance in Midtown. And other than that, love to dance, I box, go out with friends when we're not kind of in lockdown. So sort of the gist.
Very cool. It's 2020, and I was actually having a huge conversation about this. We're talking about body types right now. Are you more of the Leonardo DiCaprio kind of style, or are you looking at Jason Momoa? Who you got?
Ooh.
Right off the bat?
Good options. Just physical body, I've got to go Jason Momoa. I mean, he's just a beast. I feel like any woman's going to be attractive to that guy.
We on this podcast, we sport more of the modern day Leo, you know. That's kind of what we're going for, our vibe.
Dad
do
bods.
what you gotta do.
Dad bods.
Yeah, like a little more in shape than the dad bod, but not like a six pack, you know. I heard six packs are out, but I mean, that's why we bring you up.
I think they're still in. I think they're still cool. I would still go for a 6-pack, but you guys are looking good, so don't tell yourself.
Okay, we're taking notes.
Yeah, I'm not really good with women, so I'm gonna take that one down. Get a 6-pack. 6-packs are good nowadays. All right, let's talk about dating. There has to been a terrible time. For second question, have you ever gotten up and just left on a first date?
Never. I've never needed to, thankfully. But I just don't think I would do that probably, even if it was the worst date ever. I've been on a date with someone where every single thing we talked about, we completely disagreed on. It was very obvious he was not going any further than that date. But he bought me a steak, so I had to stay, and eat that.
Absolutely.
Sometimes the opposites attract, though. I love that question, Coach. We're going to get even more into dating down the line in this interview, but something that a lot of our viewers have asked us about is the approach. How do we get to the date? When we're approaching women or men in real life, what's success like? Yasmine, have you had anybody come up to you that you really stood out to you and you thought, wow, that was a great approach, or something that people should stay away from? Or, tell us a little bit of background on how guys tend to approach you.
I don't think there's like a certain approach that stands out or didn't work for me. I think it's more just about being super casual, like standing next to someone at a bar and something just sparks a conversation and kind of goes from there. I don't think a guy needs to have a whole kind of shtick that they like to say or a bunch of questions they like to ask. I think as long as the conversation flows, then that's kind of what works. All
right. I got a question. So we know about the body type. We need to be 6-packs. Strong, all this stuff. But what are some big time deal breakers that you're absolutely out on? Physical or mental? Anything.
And don't say like rude to the waiters. That's like the most like cliche thing. If someone's rude to the waiters, yeah, get them out of here. But we want to be more in depth.
Let her answer.
I don't think I could do like a massive beard physically. Like
Okay.
James Harden's super hot, but I just don't know if I could actually date him. He's not asking.
Is
But I'm
this
just
too much?
You're good. You're good. And I think just mentally, there's no deal breakers, but I think there's certain kind of items that are really important to me. So if we don't kind of match up there, it's just not going to make sense.
Absolutely.
And when you're out and you're not necessarily checking out guys, but guys might be catching your attention, what are some things that might catch your attention, whether it's in a bar, in just salad and chopped, something that you're at lunch? What do you look for?
Podcasters?
Definitely. I'm like, I think that guy runs a podcast. Like there's something about him I can tell. I like a guy in a suit in Midtown, know that he potentially has a good job, or at least is trying to have a good job. Someone, if he's in a group of friends, like seems to be the life of the party, seems funny, is smiling a lot, like just seems like he'd be a good time. That's always a person that you want to talk to.
Yeah. What do you tend to do on first dates? So now you've met the guy or girl out, and it's time for the first date. Is there anything that's too serious for you? Like, can you do a full meal for the first date? Do you like to do drinks? Kind of walk us through that.
I'm open to doing anything, really. I mean, I think a lot of people tend to go for drinks or do something where there's kind of an out for both people, which I totally understand for a first date. And I think that makes people feel comfortable. And if it goes well, you can always like hit the next spot. I've done dinner. I've done dates where we've done drinks, dinner, gone to another bar, kind of hopped around. So yeah, it went well. That one was a good one. But I don't think anything's really off limits. The only thing I would say is you just want to have an opportunity to talk to that person. So I don't think I've been to the movies on a first date, but I've been on a second date, and it's just kind of odd because you don't actually talk to the person. Yeah. So it definitely made me kind of question what was happening there. So as long as we can kind of hang out and kick it, I'm good with that.
What are your views on online dating? Are you up or down on it? I mean, you probably don't have that many problems, but still got to ask.
Thank you. I'm not a fan of it. I mean, I've been on dates with people that I've met on apps. I dated someone for a couple months that I met on an app. I obviously know of people who have like been married and had serious relationships from apps. But I do think it's tough. Like, it seems like everyone's on the apps now. You don't really know how serious or not someone is, what everyone's looking for, and there's just like thousands of people to sort through. So I do think it's somewhat challenging to actually meet someone that would be interesting, that you'd actually want to go on a date with, that something would kind of work out from it. And I do find that in person now, people will make less of an effort to approach women because of the apps. I mean, I know of friends who used to be like, every single night, going up to a girl at a bar, dancing with a girl, whatever it was. And now that same person stands at the bar on the apps. So I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it. Do I use them? Yes. Would I rather they're not there? Probably.
One quick follow-up about that. Do you feel as though, not necessarily you, but maybe the girls you hang out with, do you feel like they're less approachable because of the apps? They're more just out to have a good time with their friends versus meeting people because, they can, there's so much downtime throughout the week that they can kind of facilitate and set up their dates, while they're not out at the bar? Or do you feel like they're even more open to guys approaching them?
Yeah, I mean, I totally get that. And I'm sure it depends on the person. I'm sure you will find women who do the same thing, who only are interested in using the apps, and in person just, they just want to hang out with their friends and not be bothered. But I would say my friends, like, we're super, super easy to talk to. We would love for people to approach us and chat with us in person. I think that would be, at least for my friend group, that would be our preference for sure.
Even during this tough times during COVID, any guy comes up to you right now, he better be wearing a mask, obviously, right?
Yeah, I don't know are people approaching people right now?
I don't know. I
don't.
Yeah, it's not really a good time to be approaching people at bars right now. So it's tough. It's just really tough for everybody. And we're all trying.
Yeah, if we're talking right now, I think obviously the apps are going to be the move if you are open to meeting someone. Or some people are kind of just chatting to, line some things up for when this is all over. I'm not personally like going to bars or anything, so I would say I have not been approached in many months, sadly.
Yeah.
So kind of just to recap what we've gone over. So the keys: have a six-pack, suit, smile, and just have good energy. I think
podcast.
podcast. So I got 3 of those. 3 out of 5, that ain't bad. This is baseball. Get me in the Hall of Fame, you know?
Yeah, no, I'm 0 for 5, but I'm always working to get better. Better.
And Yasmine, any final statements before we let you go? Once again, we really appreciate you coming on.
Of course. I would just say be yourself. Like, that's super corny, but I'm such a proponent of like whatever's meant to be will be. So I think like don't fake it. Like just be who you are and it will work out.
That's perfect. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you guys.